Welcome to another episode of I Love Youth Work. Today we're here with the inspirational youth worker Amani Simpson. Yo, and welcome to another episode of I Love Youth Work.
Hi, welcome to I Love Youth Work.
Welcome to another episode of I Love Youth Work.
Welcome to another edition of I Love Youth Work. As today we are.
I like youth work, and your mama loves youth work.
It'd be wonderful if you could give the viewers a little flavour of how you came to be in this game and what you've been up to.
So, as I was introduced, my name's Amani. I am from Enfield, North London, and I love empowering young people. So I was what they would class as a troubled young person, had quite a turbulent upbringing, got expelled from 2 schools, was in care for a little bit, did county lines, but essentially turned my life around for a period of time before I got stabbed 7 times. So it's been a roller coaster. And what it's actually done for me is it's caused me to search for my purpose and believe that the experiences that I had in school were needed to go back into primary schools and secondary schools and prisons to really just give hope and try and empower those that are coming up through some of the similar struggles that I had. So that's why I'm here.
And you put it all out there in a film about your life, which was, when did that first go on?
It came out on the 13th of January this year, 2019.
2 million views.
2 million,
and counting.
2 million, close to 2 million. I guess if you add up all the ones in between, it's 2 million. But thank you, thank you, man. Do you know what? I'm humbled.
No mean feat.
I'm humbled because again, I think when I put it out, or when me and Javan first started talking about it, Shiro's story hadn't been made, and so therefore we were sitting down talking about this idea, and the kind of the space hadn't been created for this viral success of short films. And so when Javan did Shiro's Story 1, Shiro's Story 2, and then we were planning ours, it just came and launched at the right time. So it's humbling to be part of that kind of pioneering phase of our generation. So yeah, it's really humbling.
So if it's cool, I'm going to invite anyone watching this film. The link is going to be below this film, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube. Go and watch the film, find out about the story. There'll be other interviews that we'll link in as well. What we're going to focus on in this conversation is not that story, if that's cool, and focus on where you taking those lessons, and you know, youth workers watching this is about how do we use that story, how do we use those experiences. So what have you done since the film? What have you done like in going into youth work? Can you talk about your experiences in youth work now?
So one of the things that I've been doing off the back of the film is ensuring that I start having key conversations with councils and places like the Home Office, the Mayor of London, just in order to try and get involved with their early intervention ideas, but also present my own ideas as well. So we decided that we were going to make the film in a way that could be used as a tool. So we wanted young people to really be able to kind of share it with each other, their adults to be able to share it with them, but then also their teachers and their youth workers to be able to engage with it. So I've basically been going in and piloting my own 6-week program in my assemblies and everything. And the aim is that we're going to expand it and really try and aim to go around the UK and then, go around London first and then go up and down the UK and hopefully internationally.
So is this school-based or?
School-based, obviously pupil referral unit, which kind of comes within that, but then we're going into prisons and I guess youth justice services as well. So.
Fantastic. One of the great things I saw about in the film, I saw the film this morning for the first time, is one of the things that was always coming back to, like people have been talking about the film, they're talking about the viral success of it, but they're talking about how meaningful it was for them. And as youth workers, it was amazing to see us. It's almost like a celebration of some of the key individuals from the field. Yeah. I really want to acknowledge, like we saw Leroy Logan there, Paul McKenzie, and we saw Karen Allen there. These are stalwarts in this field. Chris Preddy. Just want to recognise.
Robin Travis as well.
Robin Travis. Want to recognise Chris. Yeah. I see him as my own, younger brother, and I want to shout out the stuff that he's doing on YouTube. I'm feeling that. I'm watching that, and I'm feeling the passion. And you could see some of the people that had the passion there. And I see you, we've been doing this game too long now. That's how I describe myself. And I'm seeing, what I want to say from the very beginning, I want to recognise formally in front of everybody else that sometimes you meet youth workers and you recognise that one day this person's going to be an elder in our tribe. Yeah, I want to recognise that. I recognise that you've got so much to learn, but the spirit and the mindset that you're coming with, this level of contribution, but more than that, the entrepreneurship and a proud entrepreneurship that we have to do something with this, that we have to come from an economic place of strength that's the right place. If you want to take anything away, like from what Robin's doing, mainly what Robin's doing, yeah. This is. I can see you as an elder, and it reassures me. It gives me hope.
No, do you know? I really appreciate that. I think for myself, I pride myself in just sitting at the feet of those that have come before me, and not trying to, in order for me to lead, I've got to serve first.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to speak to people. Yes, I'm building my organisation and trying to expand the vision, but there's so many people that have gone forward and I guess given me an hour or 2 hours of their time or a month and just downloaded and said, you can do this, slightly quicker than I did. And so I'm just humbled to be in that position.
It's important that it's sustainable. The work that we do can't rely on like a 1 year grant here and a 1 year grant here or a 3 month project. That's not 100%. How we're going to build the sort of future that these young people 100%. Need and want. And what's been clear from the first time we met, all those whenever it was, you've got a passion for this. And when you meet a young person, they know, they feel it. This is more than a job. Yeah, definitely. You've chosen to do this. We've chosen to do this. It's not like I'm doing this while I'm trying to get my CV out and looking for something else. 100%. And
it's not about the money.
Say a little bit about how you feel about the importance of authentic connection with young people, rather than I'm here to deliver a project to you.
I think definitely I agree with you, and I'll pick up even on what you said about the sustainable idea. I mean, we're standing on a building site. I don't know if you can capture all of this. These are the things that we need to build for young people. Why not?
Yeah.
Why can't we? Because this is the only way that they're going to be able to do this for the next 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years.
Yeah. And we need them to.
And they need to know that on that level that we've got their back, that we're trying to empower them and make sure that they've got like a lasting legacy. Yep. But also when we meet them one-to-one, it's not just about the money, it's about how do I enable you to get from point A to point B to point C without babying you. Yeah. And we're showing you that mutual respect, because I feel like, especially when I was coming up in school, I didn't really feel like I had authentic youth workers. I feel like the people that were in the school system with me were book smart and they had the theory. They come and say, how do you feel, Amani? And you're just like, shut up! Don't talk to me like that. And he's just angry. He's angry. Let's put a label on him. Whereas, I really believe that you need to get to a space where you can understand the experience of the young person. And I guess the word that you probably have heard for much longer than I have been saying it is trauma informed. You need to understand that a lot of these young people are coming from spaces where they've seen things, whether that be abuse, whether that be there's loads of different factors. It's not even get into that.
It's vital.
And so that's what I definitely believe. You can't just come in here with just because you're getting paid more in London, let's go and do some.
There's a difference between practice, because I think that people are talking like trauma informed has come up so much in our work. It's
the only thing people are saying.
People are talking like theoretically. Yeah. And there's a recent thing that we was having this conversation, and I want to get your views on this, which was about, there's all this thing about grooming people into violence, grooming people into the drugs trade, grooming people into extremism. Yeah. Now, my experience of that, my own personal experience of that, my professional experience of that, is there's a misunderstanding about who these people are, because there's a concept of like we want to make this into like a Hollywood or a Bollywood thing where there's like monsters and they're coming out and these young people are so dumb. And when I'm looking at that, actually the people that are doing the grooming are victims, and actually there is a concept of, like some of my friends, like this is not something that I talk about often. And when I was thinking about this morning, I thought, this is going to be a different interview for us. Because I watched that film this morning, I thought, us touched some real nerves for us. I don't speak about it often, but like my friend almost died at school, and he was left to die on the street. And some of my friends still now are involved in that stuff. And I don't come from a place of judgment there. That's someone else's kismet. That's someone else's destiny.
And you know what they were like before they got the label.
Because I was like that. Yeah. And so my navigation is that entrepreneurship is only fashionable now. Like, where was I going to take my entrepreneurial spirit? Where was I going to take my fire, my aggression, my productivity? No one knew about coaching. No one knew about youth workers. Like, I wasn't mild. I'm still not mild now. So it's only people like, Martin Tilbury, Andy Law, these stalwarts of this tribe that they came along. But there's a thing about being trauma informed, but also having an awareness of all the aspects of this, not just that young people, the victims of these devils, and we need to just lock up these other people. So can you say a little bit more, because you're coming from two different points of view. You've got the history stuff that people can pick up, and now you're working in there more eloquently, more nuanced. So what could you say, what advice, this is the question I want to ask, what advice would you give to people that are working with young people that might be caught up in this, about how they can work with them even more meaningfully?
I guess, and it's, I think what we said off camera as well, is seek to understand and then to be understood. That's from How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I guess that's one of my mantras. You know, when I go into a room, I'm never going to sit here and pretend that I'm the most experienced youth worker or that I don't fall short. There's times where I kind of fall into some of the practices that my teacher had. I've worked with some primary school children recently, and one of the boys was being very difficult. And at the end of the class, I was thinking, well, you can't come in the class next week. And that's what I was saying. And I was like, actually, no. I can't do that because that's what everyone else will do to you. And so you've got to come back into the class next week because I'm not going to give up on you that easy because, you know, and that to me is just, that's not anyone telling me this is what you should be doing. This is me just picking up on what did I need at that stage.
It's instinct. It's instinct. You're a human being. He's a human being. You know what you would want if you were in that position.
100%. And I think I rarely got it when I think about, when I think about it in hindsight. You know, when I started to get pushed around in school, I needed someone to pull me inside and say, are you happy with your friends and money? And then me saying, yeah, I'm happy to my friend. But no, are you happy with your friends and money? And then getting the tears out. And then once the tears come out, allowing them to, like, you need to do. And I think that sometimes the labels go out very quickly because you can't explain why the child's doing that. But as people have said to me numerous times, is that the child is not their behavior.
Yeah. But underneath that behavior are emotional drivers, which normally get pushed to the side.
Yeah.
The behavior gets noticed and punished, or noticed and counselled, or noticed and given therapy to. But there's very little time within a curriculum, if it's a school, or a daily thing if it's a prison. The regime is there. You've only got these slots. So if you don't need your therapy on Thursday at 2 o'clock when your slot is, it doesn't fit in.
I think one of the things that I definitely needed in terms of advice at the time is that definitely helped me was that idea of going on a personal development journey. You know, having some of the kind of pillars of what we will know from an entrepreneurial perspective in terms of like your mindset, your choices, your habits, your the compound effect. All of these different things need to be part of the curriculum. Same way that you can talk about financial literacy and preparing people for adulthood. These things need to be on the curriculum because otherwise, what are you allowing young people to grow up into? And so I feel like, again, that's going to be down to those that are really on that this is the long game, this is the marathon, right? So we're going to have elements of this where you're going to learn at the beginning and then have to fight and then pass over the baton to someone else. And I just think it's a journey. You know, we're on this long one and just keep running, basically.
Let's go a little bit deeper on this entrepreneur stuff. So you've set up a CIC, we know that, and the details will be below. What, not just advice, what experiences, what mistakes have you made in that journey where you've tried to build a company or a career out of this? And this is more than just workshops, saying put the knives down, because I think that if at the best that's got like a temporary sort of effect. So what have you learned in that journey so far?
Patience.
Yeah, man.
I feel like one of the things that has happened I'll speak even on the live case study is that since the film's come out, I've really wanted to just say, let's go, let's run, let's make it happen because you got to stay present, you got to, and I've got a manager and she basically kind of is in my corner saying, do you know what? Patience, 1 step at a time, and then I've got older sisters and mentors that are saying, you know what, actually, make sure, have you got this thing covered? Have you got this strategy down? And, have you thought about this? And where I'm kind of, I guess, I wouldn't say self-made, like I haven't, by God's grace come here, but I'd say because I've got to this space.
Hello.
Yeah, do like a video, you need the permission to do that.
Oh, it's not professional equipment, this is just a vlog that we're interviewing our friends.
This for vlog.
Yeah.
So let's just go in. Yeah, I'm tweet.
Is that? No way.
Of all the people in the world.
Is that Lilo? Is that Lilo? You joking with me? Can't keep walking. How you doing, sir?
So hopefully you'll catch up later. Awesome. All right. Take care. Please don't stop the highway.
There's always hope. There's always hope. But my opinion is we're in bad shape. We're in bad shape. Youth work is in bad shape. Like people keep telling me, but no, what about this? But what about this? And I'm like, yeah, but you look at different tribes, that's something different.
Yeah.
So
I think it goes back to what you were saying about entrepreneurship in the sense of, you know, where we stand right now, that sustainable model has to be created and really kind of like fleshed out a lot more. So one of the things that I'm even currently looking into is, because I came from a property field, is how do I get into commercial developments where you start building, you know, units of 50, 60, 100 flats, whatever the case may be, and make sure that there's a youth element in there, that there's part of that part of the lease agreement of this land is that there has to be something.
One of our partners is doing exactly that in America.
Lovely.
They're taking on whole blocks and getting the young people to build their own accommodation.
See,
it's beautiful
that's
to
my
see.
language.
So, and they've hooked up with different foundations. So it's a Nick Cannon Foundation. So they're, you know, the heavyweights.
What that's all about for me is a shift of focus. Again, like we were talking about earlier, it's a shift of focus from the problem. The problems exist. We know problems exist. If you only read the media and look at the media, you know, you'd think that the youth crime problem is like everything all the time. It's a tiny little thing. Most young people are doing really well. Most young people wouldn't be seen dead in a youth club. They don't want anything to do with a youth club. But it doesn't mean that they don't need some youth work, if you want to call it that. It doesn't have to be called youth work.
And a positive engagement with adults.
It can be around a film. It could be around an album. It could be around a sport. It could be around anything. You can still have those conversations that are, you know, powerful, meaningful, potentially transformational, that help people just go, oh, I never saw it like that.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't have to be in a youth club.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I don't have to be called a youth worker, and some people call me all kinds of other things.
What's been your favourite moment in youth work so far? What's been a standout moment? What's been a meaningful moment?
Do you know what it's been? It's been the feedback from young people. Yeah. The energy that I grab from them when I meet them, and again, I always say, like, I'm not in it for the celebrity status, but I know that this generation, that's how they associate influence, and, you know, this guy's a celebrity, we want a picture with him. And it's not to say that I'm in it for that, but I think what's great is that they come up to me and they give me a lot of energy and say, you inspire me. This is not, oh, you know, your bars are this or whatever. Like, and again, rap is rap, but, you know, for me, I'm doing something that's about how do I help your mindset elevate, and how do I try and progress you as a young person from a distance or in person. So when I meet them and they're messaging me and say, or I've seen it on YouTube or on DMs, and they're like, oh, I've watched your film and thank you for telling me your story. You know, under the 2 million views that we've got thousands of comments of young people talking about thank you,
feedback.
direct. And it's like, to me, that was the thing that, forget the views. Views mean nothing to me in that sense, other than the fact that it's created impact. It was the feedback, and so that's been the main bit for me. Just knowing that actually what we're doing is really having an effect, and it's not just lip service.
Now, what do you think about this thing about how often at the moment social media is getting the blame?
Yeah.
And your experience has been that social media is the tool that you've used to do the opposite effect. What's going on with that? Again, it's about a focus somehow, about the lens.
Do you know what I think? The thing that dropped on me when you were talking just there is that we use a knife to eat as well, right? So it depends how you use this thing. So, you know, I guess the messages that I really want to be known for is the positive messages, the ones that really celebrate young people that are doing amazing things, that aren't just kind of demonizing the more negative sides of things. I think social media definitely has a lot to answer for, because, you know, I get constant messages in WhatsApp groups of people getting thrown, acid thrown on them, or someone getting stabbed, or, you know, bad news. And it's just like, okay, you are doing what the national news do, and that's not helping us. So therefore, within our own infrastructures, our small little communities, let's at least promote the positive things a lot more. So yeah, I think both sides of the coin, you can definitely find good things like what we've done and loads of other people are doing, but definitely needs to be some accountability on the fact that you can't just constantly post negative rubbish every day. It's draining.
Yeah, and look, I know that you come from a spiritual perspective, and in some ways so do we. And I think it's important to kind of mark out here that we come from an energetic place, and so when we're talking about knives, we're talking about social media, or even graffiti, or we're talking about violence, and we're talking about, you can't destroy energy, you can only rechannel it. And so when people are talking about grooming, and when they're talking about people coming and providing excitement to young people, I'm like, this is exactly what we need to do. We just need to rechannel that energy. 100%. We need to channel the energy of young people that are saying we want to hang around with loads of people. That's what we want young people to do. That they're showing the energy and that fire, and it's just the same story that you got, the same story he's got, the same story I got. And What's coming up for you, man? How are you going to use your energy? How are you going to use this entrepreneurship? How can we help? How can people watching help? Like, where's this going for you?
I guess the first thing that I'm really interested in doing is connecting, and learning.
Yeah.
Because again, as I said, I don't know the ins and outs of this. You guys have been doing it for nearly as long as, or just slightly younger than I've been alive, you know. So, and that's testament to your involvement in this thing. So I want to sit at your feet and say, all right, guys, I've got this idea. You did that 20 years ago. How could I learn from that? And so I guess that's really what my main concern is. Yes, there's things that, okay, we need funding and we need opportunities here and there, but I don't believe that that's out of my network in terms of the people that I know. So I would rather take the wisdom and then be able to apply that into the conversations that I'm already going into, and then, you know, just each kind of climb up, because we're serving young people. So I think it's a global effort to do that and not trying to work in silos. Like, if you've got best practice and it works in East London and I'm more focused in North London, I'm not stepping on your toes. I'm expanding on what you've already done, because your aim is to help young people. And so it's just having that mentality. And for me, I'm going to tell more stories. I'm going to do more films. I'm going to make sure that we've got large scale events, that we're into the digital space as well. And as I mentioned before, that we're getting properties as well alongside this, because the bottom line is that in order to really build this, we need to have some kind of economic voice and kind of firm position when it comes to some of these issues, because otherwise it's just going to be at the hands of people that don't necessarily put this at the top of their priority list. So
I love what you've just said, and for me it's nice to hear it from somebody so young, and it's nice to hear that. I always say youth, health, education, crime, these things are turned into political tools, and if we rely on political money only, you get caught up in that. But what you're talking about is sustainability, independence, and the things that appeal to young people. Like, Westfields don't find it hard to attract young people. Nike doesn't find it hard. Adidas doesn't find it difficult. Loads of music labels don't find it difficult. But a council project might find it difficult. It depends on what sensibilities we're appealing to, and something that young people want to do is the stuff that you're talking about.
And that's why we need to collaborate with those. We need to, because we need to make sure that those that are taking the money of young people and maybe don't necessarily know how to engage them can be, you know, part of this mission and this conversation, because they also have an understanding that these are the people that buy our products or engage with our shopping centre. And so we need to do something for them. Whether or not that's always at the top of their agenda, someone in their office is thinking about it. And so if we can tap into those people, we don't always have to constantly go to government sources and say, can you fund us? It's how do we engage with organisations that are actually looking to involve themselves in the issue or empowering young people? How do we get them involved in the conversation? It's possible.
What we're talking about has real value. And it's, you know, it's valuable to governments, and it's valuable to other, you know, commercial people as well. It's valuable in general.
That's the controversial thing. So, like, even like live in this conversation, the controversial thing is that money is always an interesting obstacle in families, in an individual, in a tribe, in a society. Because people talk about it and they go, like, our tribe has always had funny relationship with money. But one of the opportunities of the decimation of funding is that people are less reliant on the government. And so they have to become even more innovative. People go, how do you say that? I'm like, well, what else do you want me to say? Look at where we are. Look at where we are. We've got this regeneration. We can see Canary Wharf here. We can see this whole regeneration here. But it's disconnected from the young people. They don't see this as belonging to them.
Look, they're walking through.
This has happened to them.
They're not congregating.
But what it actually is, this is theirs. You know, they're going to be walking around here for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
They're the customers, they're the staff.
They're already spending that money. And so if we don't recognize that economics, politics, spirituality is fundamental, in that conversation, 100%. Then we're speaking like a conversation that doesn't make any sense. Academics. 100%. So it's real life that this is what we have to have. And the conversations that we're having with what we call the private sector, which is not really the private sector, because everybody's now watching the news. Everybody's watching the news. And the conversations that we've been having, we'd love to open those doors to you. And now we're recording this, you can say, oh man, you said that on the recording. And so what I'm saying is that's what we want to be able to do. And I'd love to be able to open those doors and continue that conversation. I think
we need to wrap it up, but this is the first instalment, it feels like. So this is part one of Amani Simpson with ILYW Youth Work, and there'll be a special coming up, I'm sure. We're going to continue this conversation. Thank you for watching. Check out the links below. Links to the film. Definitely see the film.
Definitely watch the interviews. Amani's contacts will be down below. It won't be his mobile number. He won't be picking up.
I'll leave the audience with this one thing that I always say is learn, earn, return.
Nice. Yeah, just leave it there.
That's
Thanks for
beautiful.
watching.
Big up Jamelia Donaldson. She told me that. I always have to quote her.
You've done it now.
100%.
Awesome.
Bless
Thank
you,
you,
man.
man.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, man.